Folks, welcome back. I have your latest home prices and insights for the real estate market for week ending November 8th. Now I'm changing up the format moving forward. Today, well, I would normally be talking about City of Toronto and Vaughan, and I'd be talking about freehold and condo prices. I'm breaking it down to give you more detail. So today in this video, I'm only talking about the City of Toronto, and instead of freehold, I'm breaking it down to detached, semis, towns, and condos. Those of you interested in more of the 905 area in Vaughan and some of the other cities, in another video, which will be coming out in a day or two, I'm going to be breaking those areas down. So I'm splitting these areas up. Today, just City of Toronto. In a day or two, and it'll be like this moving forward, I'm going to be talking about Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Markham, the North End, Aurora. I'm going to be talking about that, and I'll give you a ton of detail there. My name is Santo Sessa. I'm a full-time realtor. I use these reports to help me keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening out there, and it helps me to better help my clients. I'm sure you could use these reports even if you're just only interested in not planning on making any move. So let's get started. Subscribe below, hit the bell button. No, really, I mean it. Go ahead. I'll take a second here and wait for you. Cool. Thank you. And you'll be reminded each time these videos come up that way. Okay, so we're going to start here. City of Toronto, just detached properties. Now, the yellow here are properties that have sold at $2 million or more. And if we look at the very last week here, weekend of November 8th, they dropped by more than half. We sold 25 properties at $2 million or more, where the week before we were at 62, the week before that 50, and we've been around 50 and 60 for many, many weeks, and they dropped last week in half. So for sure, that has something to do with the average selling price dropping. So the average detached home for last week cost $1,426,000. Now, when we look at that and we compare to pre-lockdown prices, we've, a couple of times you can see that we were close or around the pre-lockdown price of over 1.6 mil. But generally speaking, we've never really regained that ground when it comes to detached homes over the course of the year. And in fact, if we kind of take a step back and forget the analyzing week by week, but look at the overall trend, gradually speaking, from the high that we had pre-lockdown and then the high that we had just coming out of lockdown, average sold price it's subtle, but has been gradually sloping down. And for the week ending November 8th, we're actually 13% lower than what we were pre-lockdown. Sales did drop by quite a bit. We sold 187 detached homes last week for week ending November 8th. As we head into the winter months, we do expect sales to come down. We do expect average sold price to come down. That doesn't mean homes are worthless. That kind of is coming out the wrong way. That doesn't mean homes have a less value. But what it does mean, coming into the winter months, some of the larger properties with the pools, some of the big, more expensive homes tend to, not as many are listed in the winter months just because of the outside and how they show. Compared to last year, we're a little bit higher than what we were last year by 2.7%. Now, the same week last year, we sold 26 at 2 million or more. This year, we sold 25, so that's kind of the same there. But we generally we've been between 5 to 8% higher than where we were last year. But this week we kind of a little bit closer there. Sales during the course of the last few weeks, we have been selling. Now, orange is 2020, blue is 2019. We have been selling more than what we've been selling last year, but last week was the reverse. We've sold less detached homes than what we sold last year. Is it a trend? I don't know. We're supposed to be coming down because we're heading into the winter months, and over here sales are so high. A Lots of people talking about pent-up demand. Maybe so. We've had a phenomenal year when it comes to sales. It didn't start off like that with the lockdown, but we've made up for it quite a bit. Listings, hey, you know, we've been listing more detached homes than we have last year, and we're just a little bit higher than what we were, but you could see listings each week tapering down a little bit. And when it comes to months of inventory, for detached properties, we're at 2.1 months of inventory. That's very much a seller's market. Anything less than 4 months of inventory, excuse me, is a seller's market. And normally we'll see prices tend to creep up in a seller's market. And this, although came down a little bit, we should see the effect next week sometimes of prices going up. I do want to go back 1 second here. Of these sales, more than half, 53%, sold at list price or more. So the detached market, very active. Months of inventory is very strong seller's market. Looking at semis. Now, the average detached home sold for $1,420,000 or so. The average semi last week sold for $1,226,000. For those of you that don't often look at semi, because we often will focus on detached and then condos, we'll take the two extremes. You know, there's semis in the city of Toronto that sell for $3 million, $4 million, $5 million. The semi market is very strong. Volumes are a lot lower. We sold 89 semis last week, which is pretty much in line the way it's been for the last few weeks. We sold 17 semis at I've got this broken down by properties that have sold at $1.5 million or more. So $1.5 million or more. There were 17 sold. And over the last 4 weeks, the average sold price of a semi has been going up week after week after week. Now, we're still a little bit lower than we were pre-lockdown, and we've never really quite made it back to where we were pre-lockdown price. There was a peak here soon as we came out of lockdown, which we were much stronger, but it's kind of tapered off, and although we've been very close, we're not quite to the pre-lockdown prices. But the semi-market, extremely strong, extremely, like the highs and the lows are not quite as dramatic. Compared to last year, you know, we've been hovering between, over the last few weeks, 3 and 4% higher than we were at last year's average sold price. This week, ending November 8th, we're almost 18% higher than we were last year's average sold price. But last year at this time, we sold only 5 semis at $1.5 million or more. This past week, this year, we sold 17 semis at $1.5 million or more. So for sure, that's a huge factor in why the average price is so much higher than what it was last year. But the price of semis is coming up. When we look at sales, well, we've been selling more semis than what we've been selling last year. And for week ending November 8, we sold 89 semis, where last year at this same week we sold 67. Now 71% of these semis have sold at list price or more. 71%. So if you're in the detached market and you're buying and you're missing out on multiple offers, imagine what's happening in the semi market, where 71% are selling at list price or more. Listings, 109 semi listings were out last week, and we have been putting more semis on the market each week compared to last year. Months of inventory, 0.9, less than 1 month of inventory. And I need to explain something here. Normally I have months of inventory all lined up, those of you that seen some of my previous videos, but because I've changed the format, months of inventory, the calculation of it, active listings is one of the major factors in determining what months of inventory is. And when you go back, that months of inventory calculation is not accurate. So I'm putting the most accurate number, the closest to where we are, November 8th, and each week you're going to see this populating to then when it'll be completely accurate. So for this month, for this week, ending November 8th, 0.9, less than 1 month of inventory for semis, and that explains why prices are going up. Very, very strong seller's market with over 70% selling at list price or more. City of Toronto, townhouses. Okay, so townhouses seem to have a larger fluctuation in highs and lows when compared to semis. And the yellow here are the townhouses that have sold at $1.5 million or more. It's not that many. Last week we did 4, and 4 and 5 seem to be kind of the average higher weeks where we've sold. You know, we've got some 7s and 9s, but a lot of 1s, 2s, and 3s also. So 4 is a decent week for the higher end townhomes to be sold. We sold 25. It did drop from the previous week, but 25, there's lots of weeks where we've sold only 25 semis. Sorry, townhouses. I know it's kind of hard to believe. You think the City of Toronto, millions of people in the City of Toronto, only 25 in a week. So, you know, multiply that by 4. That's only 100 townhouses being bought, being purchased in a single month. That's the number. So we sold 25 for week ending November 8th. The average sold price did jump up when we compared to pre-lockdown prices, where the other groups, the detached and semis, have never really made it back to pre-lockdown prices. Townhouses is the opposite. Townhouse prices are much stronger, and they have been consistently stronger than our pre-lockdown prices, where the average townhouse last week sold for $1,151,000. Compared to last year, almost 18% higher than where we were last year. We only sold 1 townhouse last year for this week at $1.5 million or more. This year we sold 4, so that's definitely a factor. But I know there's also, you know, when it comes to sales, we're very similar to where we were last year in sales for this week. But there's what's helping promote the whole townhouse business is there's people leaving their condos getting into townhouses. They're not necessarily leaving their condos to get into detached because the difference in price is so high, but they're definitely getting into the townhouses. Listings, we're listing way more townhouses than what we've been listing previously. And when we look at months of inventory, we're at 1.9 months of inventory. Still, a seller's market. It's a strong market. That helps understand why prices are so strong in the townhouse business. Let's look at condos. Condos is all over the news. Everybody's talking about condos. Okay, so when we look at the amount of condos selling at $1 million or more, that's what the yellow is here. We went from 6 the previous week, we jumped up to 15. But the weeks before that, we're at 17, 14, 23. So 15 condos selling at $1 million or more in a week seems to be a pretty decent number. The average sold price of condos jumped up to $683,000. Now I know some of you are thinking, what? Wait, what? They went up? Because we've been talking about every single week for the last few weeks, prices coming down. And when you hear in the media and the news, everybody's talking about condo prices there's so many condo listings, and it's all true. Prices have been coming down. There's a lot of condo listings out there. But what we're seeing happen is people that were buyers that are looking to get into the condo market and looking to buy, interest rates are so low, so they're looking to get in. Well, instead of buying something for, say, 500 square feet, they're buying something for 600 and 700 square feet. More condo, it's giving them more price. Now, as far as prices coming down in condos, what we're seeing is the higher end condos, the condos that would be $800, $900, $1 million, we're seeing the largest percentage in price drops in those higher end condos. So people are jumping into that. And they've been waiting on the sideline. They've been seeing prices come down, so they're jumping in, and it helps to bring the average sold price up. So prices in condos are still kind of coming down, but average sold price jumped up a little bit because people are buying some of these more expensive condos at a better price than they normally would be able to get them at. We've never really we've been around the pre-lockdown prices, but we've never really surpassed it. Not like townhouses that are doing much better than pre-lockdown prices. Compared to last year's average sold price, condos kind of flips back and forth. Previous week, we were 8.5% lower than last year's average sold price. This week, we are almost 4% higher than last year's average sold price, which is interesting that we're higher because last year we sold 22 condos at $1 million or more, and this week we sold 15. So you figured just that difference alone should help kind of bring last year's price higher, but it's not the case. Compared to sales, well, we're buying way less condos. Last week, there was 200 condos purchased in the city of Toronto. 30% sold at list price or more. So that market is not as active as far as multiple offers, as far as quick, I gotta buy it now, as the detached towns or semis. Listings, ton of listings. Here's the story. You can go to a condo building. I've had some buyers call me and say, hey, I want to buy a condo in this building. I quickly see what's available for sale. There's like 20, 30 listings to choose from. Well, which ones do you think my client wants to see? The least expensive ones for the square footage he or she is looking for, and we go to look at 3 or 4, and we buy one of them. We don't need to see all 17 or 20 listings that are out there. And I say that because if you're thinking of selling your condo, you're competing with everybody else in your building. You should really have a good realtor on your side helping you price it properly. Anyways, getting back. Listings have been gradually coming down, but it's not the 869 listings last week that you should focus on. We sold almost 200 condos last week, but there is over 5,400 available for sale, active listings. So 200 were bought, 5,400 to choose from. Lots of choices out there, and that brings the months of inventory into 6.3 months of inventory, which puts us in the buyer's market category. Anything over 6 months of inventory is a buyer's market. Now, normally in a buyer's market, we should be seeing price come down, just like we've been seeing the previous week. I've explained why I believe price has come up, but there's other analogies out there. If I had a ball and I dropped it, when it hits the ground, it's going to bounce up again. Not quite as high as where it was before, and then eventually it's going to keep bouncing. It's going to go up and down, up and down. There's nothing pushing it up other than the bounce. So sometimes things happen in the market, causes prices to go up. But with the volume of inventory out there, with the volume of condos, we expect prices to really struggle. But if people all of a sudden start jumping in and buying the more expensive condos because they are a better deal than what they were before, it's going to give the impression that average sold price is going up. I do want to say something else on condos. There's a lot of talk about these condos that are for sale. A lot of them are people that have that are now working from home. You've got a husband and wife living in a condo. It's okay when they leave during the day, they go to work, but because of our health crisis, people are working from home, so they're choosing to sell their condos. That's why there's so many on the market, and buy a detached home. That's not the case. I can tell you from experience, being in the market as a realtor, that's not the case. The average sold price of a condo is $683,000. The average sold price of a detached home is $1.4 million and 26. This person here that's living in a $680,000 home is not going out to buy a $1.4 million property. It just doesn't work like that, qualifying for mortgages. The average semi is 1.26. It's a stretch to do that, and the townhouses are a little bit lower than that. So we're seeing some that have been saving, and maybe they have the larger condos. They're getting into the townhouses, but people are saying, oh, they're leaving their condos and they're buying detached. That's just not happening. The reason there's so much volume out there is, as far as pre-construction goes, we have a record number of closings this year of pre-construction condos. These are condos that were purchased 3 and 4, some of them 5 years ago. Well, in that course of time, all sorts of things have changed in someone's life. So a lot of them would, forget the health crisis for a second, a lot of them would normally be coming onto the market. Not quite the volume that we're seeing now, but because someone's life has changed. They thought, I'm going to buy now, it'll be ready in 5 years, and I'm going to live in it. Well, they have another baby, or they get married in that time. And all sorts of things happen that cause them to no longer want that. So people would normally be putting these pre-construction condos on the market. A lot of them bought for investment. Well, the investment of rental that's a different market now. Although Canada has announced a very, very aggressive immigration market for next year. So that's going to really help to change this whole condo industry around. A lot of these condos that are on the market are investors. They're people that have bought. Maybe they have a financial situation now because of the health crisis. Maybe they were planning on renting and they see that that market is not there anymore. And a lot of the condos purchased in Toronto are not cash flow positives. People were buying because of the appreciation. You know, I buy it now at $800 a square foot or $900 a square foot. By the time it's ready, I'm going to be able to sell it at $1,200, $1,300 a square foot. Those numbers are not lining up anymore. So they're putting them on the market, trying to sell their condos. That's where the volume of the volume of condo listings are coming from. Hey, my name is Santo Sessa with RE/MAX Premier. Thanks for watching. This was just Toronto. Those of you looking for Vaughan, Markham, Richmond Hill, that's coming up in a day or two. Stay tuned. Have a great day.